When Beast Wars began airing in 1996, it was quite the controversial show among Transformers fans. "Truck, not monkey," they would cry. Essentially showing that not much has changed except social media making it more vocal. But showrunners Bob Forward and Larry Dittilla would correspond with Transformers fans, and thus began to implement elements of the original Transformers series into Beast Wars. Beast Wars would treat Generation 1 as Arthurian lore, thus any interpretations are valid, thus it doesn't strictly follow the cartoon or the comic book. But the basic story is intact. For millions of years, the Autobots led by Optimus Prime battled the Decepticons led by Megatron. One day, the Autobots finally emerged victorious over the Decepticons, and the Pax Cybertronia was signed. The full details are unknown, but effectively placed the Decepticons as second-class citizens to the Autobots. Some Decepticons were granted amnesty, and most have retired, but eventually the Autobots and Decepticons would upgrade to smaller, more energy-efficient forms, the Maximals and Predacons. The ruling council of Cybertron is made up of the Maximal Elders, who, in an attempt to prevent the Great War from starting up again, they sealed off many records relating to it, including Earth, which, while not explicitly stated in the show, is said to be off limits in the future due to some undecided upon disaster, and to keep it safe from any time-altering thieves. 300 years after the end of the Great War, the Maximals and the Predacons have an uneasy truce, which leads us to one Predacon in particular who also goes by the name Megatron. What was his name before this is unknown, but he took the name because of his ego. The ruling tribunal of the Predacons, the Tritopus Council, were slowly biding their time, gathering resources so they could restart the war on a larger scale. But Megatron was impatient, and desired a faster means of conquest. The Tritopus Council in turn saw Megatron as brilliant, but a rogue, and promptly wished he would shut up. Meanwhile, the Maximals knew the Predacons were gunning for them, and they planned on fighting back. In an attempt to replicate the Decepticon Starscream's immortal spark, they would create Protoform X, who was regarded as too feral to be controlled, and Optimus Primal's real mission is to dispose of X. Megatron would gather a team of followers into his service, most notably Dinobot, who will come into play soon. Together, they were able to steal the Golden Disc, which contained information on the location of planet Earth. But Megatron would discover something else on the disc, a message from the original Megatron. The original Megatron had every intention of winning the war, but would cover his bets and inscribed a message onto the disc for any Decepticon descendants to find. The message was that in the events that the Decepticons lost the war to the Autobots, a Decepticon descendant would find the disc, and per Megatron's instructions, travel back in time to prehistoric Earth, where the Ark, which contained the slumbering Autobots and Decepticons, lay. With the disc opening the Ark, one would find Optimus Prime, and kill him before he could awaken. This would, in theory, create a future where the Autobots would lose the Great War, as if not for Optimus Prime, the Decepticons would have won. Stealing a ship, Megatron and his band of rogue Predacons traveled back in time to prehistoric Earth. Optimus Primal's Maximals, who at the time were supposedly on an exploration mission, were the only ship that could pursue, so the chase began. Both ships ended up crash landing on the unknown planet. It didn't appear to be Earth with the two moons, but it was rich in energon, and Megatron could use that to conquer Cybertron in the present. Thus, this conflict between Maximals and Predacons would come to be known as the Beast Wars.
So for now, let the battle be here, on this strange primitive world, and let it be called Beast Wars!
At some point, Megatron was able to confirm that the planet they were on was indeed Earth, and discovered the Ark in Mount St. Hilary, where the Autobots and Decepticons lay frozen in stasis, awaiting the moment they would be awakened in 1984. But when faced with the enormity of his task and the countless variables that aroused to changing history, he faltered. Killing Optimus Prime and changing history on that scale could potentially wipe him and the Predacons out as well. Thus, he blasted the entrance shut and resolved to find other means to conquer Cybertron.
It appears someone dug this tunnel and then blasted it shut.
This give you any clue?
As the Beast Wars raged and third parties came into play as well, and various form changes, Megatron came to realize that changing the future may be the only method he had. Megatron tries to alter history so that the human race would never exist, reasoning that without their interference, the Autobots would never have defeated the Decepticons. This plan was only foiled by the turncoat Dinobot making one last heroic stand to save humanity. With the protoform humans scattered, Megatron found himself backed into a corner. He was losing all of his soldiers, and the Maximals were closing in. Thus, he had no choice now. He had to follow his namesake's instructions and kill Optimus Prime.
And now, Optimus Prime, in memory of the Decepticons, for the glory of the Predacons, for the Cybertron that is rightfully ours, and mine to rule. unleash the storm of vengeance. Farewell.
As time began to alter, everything seemed to be changing to a Decepticon victory in the war.
Say goodbye to the universe, Maximals. The future has changed. Yes. The Autobots lose. Evil triumphs. And you no longer exist.
But such a thing is temporarily problematic. If Optimus Prime was dead, the original Megatron would have no reason to send the message in the first place, thus creating a temporal paradox. Megatron's ending in the Nintendo 64 version of Beast Wars Transmetals would elaborate on this, pointing out that with Optimus Prime dead, there would be no Matrix, and as such, nothing to stop Unicron when he came to destroy Cybertron. The IDW comic book Beast Wars Uprising was retroactively made to be the timeline that resulted from Megatron killing Optimus Prime in the past. It doesn't really make sense personally, and that's because it wasn't intended to be. Fortunately, thanks to Black Arachnia, the Maximals were able to save Optimus Prime's life and preserve history. Curiously, Prime briefly reactivated and met his descendant face-to-face before returning to stasis. I imagine if Optimus Prime had died, then what Beast Wars Transmetals claimed would have come to pass. The Decepticons would have won the war, would have had no way to stop Unicron, and as such, Unicron would eventually go on to succeed in his goal of destroying the universe. So we should be very thankful that Optimus Prime was saved. That's all for today. If you liked this video, please hit that bell, like, and subscribe button. If you want to support what I do, check out my Patreon, which is provided in the description below. See you next time.